Why do all the hot men have to wear spandex that's so tight you can see their sphincter? Sure, I might get sexy waifus in return, but I also get crippling debt.
Now let me gobble that weenie! Ooh, yes!
But for the first time in my life, there was a half-naked anime girl on the screen, and I wasn't paying attention to that. Who loves anime? I love anime. At least, I certainly hope we all do, considering, you know, you're watching a VTuber and everything. The idea that your enjoyment of anime would be synonymous with your enjoyment of me should go hand in hand with each other. And what do we do when we enjoy anime? Well, we watch it. And I'm sure a lot of us have watched a lot of anime. 2024 was a good time for anime. The rise of parody, the rise of cynicism, the rise of not taking things quite so goddamn seriously. And our good boy over at Gigguk UK has made a delightful recap of what came through 2024. And I, for one, am enjoying the scraping of the proverbial barrel. So why not? Let's just enjoy. Let's just enjoy what anime was like in 2024 and hope 2025 brings us just as many goodies. This is to make sure that you've not skipped the intro. The secret word that you need to type into the comments below is maple. If you do that, you're cool. Anyway, so I don't know about you guys, but I actually, for like 2024 was kind of a big one for me with anime. For a really long time, I was like really despondent about anime. I just was bored by most of it. Everything felt generic and the same, and I just couldn't be bothered with it. I didn't have the time. But oddly enough, in 2024, I kind of just got back into it. I started watching things like Ancient Magus Bride, the new Sotaku thing that's come out recently with the assassin guy, One Punch Man, all the like really cynical, funny animes. Even My Hero Academia I started watching again. And, you know, things like Demon Hunt, Demon Slayer, that jazz. I can say that I am now qualifiably a weeb. And as such, I need to validate that by knowing what it is I missed out on last year to help me realize that I am not nearly as much of a weeb as what I thought. So let's get in and watch this. Oh, and I started watching Dandaran.
It was certainly a busy year for global
Goated anime.
events, and I wouldn't blame you for just wanting to shut off the world and put on some anime. And thankfully,
yeah. Oh boy. You ever just think about the fact that you know, COVID was terrible. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying COVID was a good thing, but the amount of people that became terminally online because of lockdown, who then discovered anime. And then you think about it. Those people who discovered anime was their gateway drug into discovering the internet. Ooh. Imagine the amount of people who are now part of our community because they would have otherwise been normal people working normal jobs in the real normal world, but then become exposed to the internet culture and the zeitgeist of the internet, to then become infatuated with odd anime characters on the internet that sound like they're British with a very questionable voice, and then realize that there is no world outside their computer anymore, and the only thing they ever need in their life is to pander to every whimsy of the waifu that they so tune into on a day-by-day basis, and the fact that they can watch anime and also watch an anime character that has the ability to acknowledge their existence. What I'm saying is, if it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't have a job.
this year, anime came to play.
Oh, hell yeah, it did. Dude, 2024 was the year for anime. Like, I felt 2024 was like a renaissance. Good anime happened. Something happened in 2024.
For the worse. I still am getting used to how much of a global phenomenon it's become. School friends who never had any interest in animation will hit me up telling me they saw Dandadan. People who had never...
Oh, Dandadan. Ah, right. Yes. No, Dandadan is good, though. Absolutely. Watch Dandadan. It is goofy as fuck. It is stupid as fuck, but it's hilarious. I never thought I would need to see a granny talking about eating a wiener, but now I have, and my life has become more cultured because of it. You also remember, like, how... Dude, I remember when I was, like, really young, I was that kid in my high school that was into anime. I've told this story before. You know, when I was in high school, anime was such an unheard of thing in England. Nobody really cared for it. Nobody really knew of it. In my high school, there was maybe, like, a handful of kids in our lunch club that were into it, and we would hang out with each other. We'd talk about Inuyasha, Tenchi Muyo, Pokemon, and then, like, the zeitgeist changed. All of a sudden, everyone suddenly started becoming aware of anime. But it was at that point that I'd already left education, and all the people I would have talked about anime to, not to sound like a millennial, I was born too late. I am a millennial trapped in a I am a Gen Zer trapped in I'm a boomer trapped inside a millennial's body. If I was born 3 years later, I would have been the perfect fit for the demographic of who I have become. And unfortunately, I'm too old to really revel with the people that I sort of associate with more, but I'm too young to associate with the old fuckboys who are angsty at the world. I am that unfortunate middle ground that's just doomed to suffer. But anyway, I love anime, and I love the fact that it's kind of picked up. And I knew it picked up because I went back to my old high school like a couple years ago to visit my teachers and to say hi and everything. And back when I was in high school, the concept of drawing anime and manga was unheard of. I remember I was the only kid in my school that knew how to draw manga. There was like a couple other kids who had the books that people tried. My teacher was fascinated with me learning to draw manga because I was the first person he'd ever seen to draw manga. But when I went back there a couple of years ago, the walls were slathered in kids who'd been drawing manga. There were how to draw manga guidebooks in the library. And there were anime posters. There were people reading anime. It was wild. Absolutely wild how much it had just overtaken and become normal in between then, back then and when I'd been there.
Heard of a Crunchyroll will casually talk about discovering this random Japanese show on
Hey!
Netflix. My parents watched
Anime for
this year.
escapism?
The idea of being a pure
Or
anime
spending
fan feels
gratuitous
like
amounts
it's
of money on a
slowly
gacha
getting phased
game.
out as anime just becomes another part
Both are as
of
bad
pop
as each other, just
culture.
one
But
leaves
for
you
those
slightly
of us
less
who still
financially
wear that
crippled.
mantle, what else was happening this year? For about 2 weeks, our community became obsessed with Deers, with the release of a song you'd last about 10 seconds in before realizing,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
I think
We
my
now
brain
realize
just
that
committed
after PewDiePie's
suicide.
retirement,
after
it wasn't
years of
PewDiePie
waiting,
that was
it looked
killing
like we were
memes
finally
within
getting
5
the
minutes.
first great
It was
Junji Ito
dopamine.
adaptation. Uzumaki came out and
inhibited
smashed
culture.
the curse by giving us an anime that did justice to his horrifying art. It
Oh,
was
that one.
disturbing. It was unnerving. This is it. The run that's going to change everything. We're gonna do it, and there comes it. People so much that someone quoted him after stopping a real knife attack. In a rare case of a free run fan doing something outside of posting Yubel's armpits. Demon Slayer.
Wait, did you know that we have a Discord and a Twitch? No? Well, now you do. So what are you waiting for? Why don't you click those little links over there and be part of the fun? Just like the rest of us cool kids, you know what I'm saying?
Over the top silly. I'm just saying, if they really wanted their villain to have unmatched aura, they should have just fully committed to the Bollywood way of introducing their characters.
It was pretty epic, though. Oh, no! Not Bollywood!
It felt like a cut.
No, wait. You forgot. That wasn't the Bollywood way. If that was the Bollywood way of doing it, you would have had a really close-up shot of his penis.
Full of massive manga came to the end of their serialization, which included 2 mega hits in My Hero Academia.
And people think that Skibbity Toilet is the most crack-headed, dopamine receptor-addled content imaginable. Clearly, they've not watched a typical Bollywood soap opera.
And Jujutsu Kaisen. I didn't read them, but I can say from experience that historically speaking, when a long-running massive Shonen Jump manga ends, it's almost always met with unanimous praise and support, and this was
So
no
long as
different.
they don't keep milking themselves, so long as they don't. We were talking
Isekai
about this
became an
with
official word in the Oxford English Dictionary.
we were talking
giving
about this with,
legitimacy to all the
Skibbity
Isekai
Toilet.
trash men out there. Following the news,
let
the
a narrative run its course, and then if you want to keep building on it, make a different timeline, make a different narrative. Don't keep milking the same timeline like Naruto did. Unless your name is One Piece, in which case you are
Last,
ethically
but
allowed to do so.
Certainly not least, we lost a legend this year in Akira Toriyama. I
Guys,
tried writing
07s,
a longer segment
07s,
for this,
fucking
but nothing I
07s right
wrote
now.
felt like a
This is your national service to 07 the fuck out. I don't have the Japanese national anthem, so we'll have to deal with this one. A legend has passed. Dragon Ball Z might have turned into a cringe milk cash cow, but your legacy shall not be forgotten for what you made, our glorious Lord and Savior. Anyway.
did justice to this man's legacy, so I'm gonna keep it short. He may not have been the mangaka that influenced me the most, but he is the mangaka that influenced the most people around the world.
Absolutely.
He inspired a generation of people, and his work will continue to inspire.
Say what
for
you will
many
about the way Dragon Ball Z is
generations
turned
to
into
come.
now.
And for that, what more can you say?
No one
but
will deny the legacy
thank
it's
you.
left on the world. Dude, I've always loved Dragon Ball Z, but it was weird to me when I went down the gym a few months ago, and there was not one, but 3 people in the gym who had no relation to each other, all wearing Dragon Ball Z merchandise. It's like Dragon Ball Z is, it's the quintessential dress attire for gym bros and Hispanics. Now you tell me you don't know.
This was a
like,
weird year.
that's not even like me stereotyping.
When picking my best
Like Dragon Ball Z
anime.
is
To avoid any
huge
confusions,
for
these
Hispanics.
videos
It's
aren't just meant to
wild.
be a definitive shortlist of my favorites, but it's my favorites that I want to
I
passionately
mean, get you a
share and
culture
talk
that
about
with
you
Nomen
guys,
culture
and
that
normally
understands
that's
the
vast
enjoyment of anime.
majority. But it turns out that a lot of my favorite shows this year, I don't have more than like 2 sentences to say, mainly because many of them have very recently been on previous year's list, and they just continued doing what they were doing so well. So for the first time, it felt right to do some quick honorable mentions for the shows
Might
that
have
helped define my year, even if I don't have much new to say. I actually really enjoyed this season of Oshinoko, maybe even more than the first season. This year, we shifted gears to spotlight the Japanese theater, resulting in some of the best episodes we've seen in the entire series,
don't
with
think I've
some
heard of this
insane
one.
direction at times that truly made you feel like you were living an authentic theater
this-
experience.
Already making me realize that I'm very out of touch with anime, even though I think that I've been getting back into it.
Kind of something to think that this show is at its best.
Oh my god, could you imagine the dystopian world we live in where there's going to be cinemas that have like with the thank the maker that TikTok is being banned. Because otherwise we would unironically live in a world where we'll get dual monitor movie theaters eventually, playing 2 movies at the same time. I could actually see that being as a dystopian world we'd live in. TikTok, Skibbity Toilet has ruined our kids. We have to watch 2 movies. The B movie on one screen and Puss in Boots on the other.
Turn off the flash, you fucking moron.
I'm kind of starting to think that this show is at its best when Aqua isn't the main focus and when it can highlight other people's emotional journey through the world of entertainment. There was some fantastic character writing here.
what a
and
gorgeous
now
art
that the manga
style.
has come to an end,
Oh,
I'm
I
sure
know this
we'll have a
one.
lot
Oh, no,
to
no,
look
no, I
forward
have
to
seen
in
this.
future
This,
seasons.
I think my
page makes sense. I remember
Gigguk
it.
Tensei diabolically dropped one of its best ever episodes on Father's Day, then preceded it in the most Mushoku Tensei style possible, leaving me with some mixed feelings. Not so much with the development, but more in the manner in which it was executed. For a series that historically has had no problem spending as much time as it needs exploring the complexities of human emotions, this one felt a bit out of sync. I still
What's that? An anime that has a really serious undertone, puts in a really heartwarming, interesting conversation piece to then completely subvert the entire weight and brevity of it with stupid dumbfuck anime notion humor. Oh my god! No anime's ever done that before. Oh god, anime, you can put something fun and interesting and thought-provoking into your shows without then needing to pander to the ADHD adult kids that tend to watch this kind of stuff and insult the intelligence of people who are actually smart enough and gigabrain enough to actually, contemplate this message you're trying to put across without making it seem like, we can't comprehend it because our attention span is that short. Anyway.
enjoyed it, but for the first time it left a bitter aftertaste in my mouth. And I'm not talking about whatever Roxy's been drinking. It was a delight to see the wacky chemistry between the Konosuba cast has not gotten boring at all. Demon Slayer was a 10 out of 10
Konosuba, that is one I really want to watch.
for one episode. Before that, it was the weakest season so far, shown by the fact that IGN gave it a 3 out of 10 and didn't set the internet on fire.
I totally agree with that. My thinking there? You know how, like, there's a calm before a storm? It's to set the expectations low. You have a really bullshit season that's like, man, why are we watching this shit? And then they pull out the biggest throbbing, erect dildo imaginable. Like, oh, we gonna need some extra lube for that. They pull out, so they put in a boring filler season to allow us to brace our rectums for the dilation we're about to have. That's what it is. Knowing full well. Like, the fight between the zombie guy and the guy who got his arm chopped off was one of the most enigmatic, energetic fight scenes I've seen in an anime ever. And the fight afterwards with the emotion demon and how they developed Nezuko into what she is, no spoilers, was amazing. But this last season of their trading arc, it was designed to be boring. Because then it's going to set our expectations lower so we can get our pants blown off us with the next season.
Even I think that's a little low, because surely this moment alone should bring it up a bit.
Absolutely.
Then there were the two juggernauts of last year, Apothecary Diaries and Freeren, continuing their amazing run from 2023 to
Diaries?
2024. I introduced my mum to Apothecary Diaries this year, thinking it'll occupy her for a good week, and I thought I liked watching anime until I walked in one day later and she looks at me in the eyes and goes, "It's done. That was too short." It was a
Oh, so you got a based mother. See, I can relate to that. My mother unironically watches, like that was the experience my mum had with Twitch streams. I don't think my mum actively watches anime, but I know for a fact that my mum has become very based over the last couple of years. Like, for the longest of time, my mum wasn't very savvy with the internet. You know, when we were growing up, she played Red Alert a little bit. She had a vested interest in Spyro. But get you a mum that gets into the internet culture with you. I knew that my mum was based when my mum came into my stream one day and started unironically using Twitch emotes in a fitting scenario. She's also a Souls addict, which I'm not sure whether I should be proud or very concerned about.
At this point, I realized no matter how powerful I think I am, I can never hope to match the power level of Asian mums watching their soap operas. And while I preferred the first half of Freeren that aired last year, it still continued to be a stellar show.
Ooh,
tournament arc
pretty.
and all. I know everyone's thirsting over this green-haired girl, but I gotta say, the old man won my heart. A mage of principle and respect, reminding us that you may be out of mana, but you ain't out of hands. Showing the youngins how to
Very
truly
true.
pound people up. No diddy. Make no mistake, if this was a simple
Freeren, my
one-sentence
wife.
list, both of these shows would have easily ended up in my top 5. And on the other end of the spectrum, there were other returning shows like My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia was
So, this might be the most fitting point, but I actually just started watching My Hero Academia again last night. I stopped watching at season 2. I'm now up to the beginning of season 4. And I regret ever having put it down.
once the golden child of shonen, carrying on the torch to a new generation of anime fans.
But what I did notice, My Hero Academia is just Naruto. Yeah. My Hero Academia is quite literally just a modern Naruto. And I hate the fact that that's how that relates to.
To a post-Big 3 era. People loved it. People couldn't stop talking about it. Then one day, it felt like everyone woke up and just went, "Yo, this shit boring." My Hero became the punching bag of jokes, while other titles rose up and grabbed the spotlight. And as time went on, it felt like those jokes turned into complaints, and then
I mean, I haven't really gotten that far, but All Might's fight against All For One might be one of the most emotional passing of the torches in any show I've ever watched. Like, I actually think this might put me in the fucking ground and people might throw bricks at me for saying this. I would rather they get done with the narrative with the greenhead kid and give us a prequel. Give us the story of All Might. Give us the story of what came before. Give us the story of All Might's trainer, of All For One. Sorry, One For All. Give us the story of One For All. Yeah. All Might is an infinitely better character than Deku. Without shadow of a doubt. I don't mind Deku. Deku was kind of cute and adorable in the early seasons, but even by the end of the season I've just started watching, he's so boring. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but Deku is literally a more boring Naruto. Like, Deku is the worst part about the entirety of My Hero Academia. Honestly. I would, like, when I watch My Hero Academia, I would, in every asset, I would rather learn about the enemies. Like, the bad guys, the League of Villains, they're all really cool and fascinating. Most of his team have really interesting backstories. Everything that came with the teachers, All Might, some of the other teachers, what they were like before. But, like, Deku's just fucking boring. And I think they handled, like, All Might's passing of the torch, per se, in a really mature and really heartfelt manner. Like, I don't often get emotional watching anime, but watching All Might give it the last of his power to pass the torch on to everyone else was... I legitimately nearly cried. I don't get emotional usually with that kind of stuff, but I did with him. because you could feel that pain. You could feel the him holding on to that spark, and it resonated with me so much.
Eventually, those complaints turned into indifference. And while it felt like many people had given up,
I'm sure it's still
I quietly
fine.
continued watching in hopes that one day it would remind me.
I feel like it's one of those things where the manga was definitely better
in the first place. And this year, I remembered what it felt like to go plus fucking ultra.
I will say that regardless of how well the anime does, My Hero Academia has a killer OST. I actually went out and found the entire OST for the first few seasons. I've been rocking out to it all morning.
It feels like in the modern age of action shonen, a lot of us have forgotten the
and
beating
Jujutsu
heart of what
Kaisen?
My Hero Academia truly.
Hey guys, listen. Now, I need you to understand, I am not easily convinced to spend money on an anime. However, Jujutsu Kaisen has had a profound impact on me for one and one reason only. Hikari. The fucking memes around this man have shaped me into being the woman I am now. This man is everything I have ever wanted to be and more. Oh my god. I don't think he's even been in the anime yet, but the legacy he's left through his showmanship in the manga. This shit is in my head rent-free. I don't even think this is in the anime yet. This shit is in my head rent-free. Oh! And you know an anime is going to be impactful when you haven't even released the anime of it yet, and you're still eager for it. And, you know, Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole, it's impressive. I love it. I adore Jujutsu Kaisen is basically Naruto. Like, My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen are very similar in their tropes and their story beats, but that doesn't make them bad. It's like what I said the other day about Skibbity Toilet. You can have similar story beats. It's just how you innovate that. It's how you take it into your own stead. Like, if you look at Jujutsu Kaisen, it is just a better told Naruto. And more interesting and finesseful and much more dynamic. My Hero Academia's kind of got that whimsy to it as well, but My Hero Academia is a bit more like shonen Dragon Ball Z fantasy, as opposed to Naruto Ninja power fantasy.
Excelled at. It's amazing attention to detail in its character writing and development. This is what has shined in these latest seasons, and on that playing field, only a few of its competitors can compete. However, if you come into this as another battle shonen anime, you can definitely feel it being left behind when compared to the plethora of modern action spectacles its contemporaries have been showing us.
Oh,
Take this
Chainsaw
fight.
Man!
We have
Dude, I actually
versus
forgot Chainsaw Man
Ice
was
Boy
even a
and Fred. It's
thing.
a one versus many brawl.
Too many
Fireman
anime to
blasts
keep
with a
track
super
of.
hot fire, immediately rendering the team useless, and punches Ice Boy. But Ice Boy has a technique that neutralizes his fire, because, you know, he's actually half fire, half ice, and then punches Fireman. But then Fireman brings out fire that's even hotter than his previous fire, so Ice Boy brings out his ultimate.
So, non-anime enjoyers will sit there and gripe about, but it's Dragon Ball Z, it's just power fantasy, like, you have upped your power, 1. It's a good thing I have my inhibitors on, because now I'm gonna be even stronger. Oh no, I've been pushed back. Good thing I was only using 5% of my power. Time to go even further beyond. Damn, you beat me again. Time to go even further beyond. I've been holding back on this new form of mine that I've been training for. Damn, I was wearing my weights this entire time. Time to take those off and get even stronger. Like, that constant power creep is the biggest off-put for anyone who doesn't understand anime. And it's fine, I guess, in its little hyperbolic space. And it's great to watch those power creep moments. And in a power fantasy anime, in a shonen anime, it's the kind of beat that can work a few times. But I think the better story beat is kind of like what Dan does, or some of the other anime that's been coming out recently, where rather than getting stronger vertically, you get stronger laterally. You're side grading. You're not becoming stronger necessarily. You're becoming more finesseful in knowing what to do with your power more. Because otherwise, it's just like, how many times can you up your power before it becomes this like Dragon Ball Z bullshit where you're fighting on a galactic level? Like, there's only so many times you can up your power before it becomes boring and outlandishly powerful.
Technique, and even called a super duper ice punch. It was at this point I realized
because then it's like lazy plot. It's like lazy in a way.
Watching a turn-based battle on autoplay. I know this sounds like complaints, but this is all to say that if you are,
it removes any complexity.
When you can focus on its strengths.
When you start focusing on these characters, it's like Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z to me got boring when it changed to focusing on power levels versus martial arts. Like in the older Dragon Ball Z days, it wasn't about who had a higher power level, it was who knew the best kung fu. And that's intricate, that's dynamic, that's something you can analyze and be like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Because the power doesn't, because they're on a feasibly understandable level, you can relate to it, you can understand it. But the second you start going up through like power fantasy, it's just like, yeah.
Collide, it is able to go places few other shonen action shows are able to, and this season was a non-stop barrage of that. Endeavor facing the mistakes of his parenting, Todoroki coming to terms with his family trauma, Bakugo turned into a sympathetic boy, Ochiko proves she's more than just a good girl,
Okay, good to know,
Himiko
good to know.
she's more than just a crazy
every
girl,
anime...
Deku, stop listening to My Chemical.
Let's be real, every anime has to have their low moments. I mean, you wouldn't have had over 1,000 episodes of One Piece. Like, not every season of an anime can be good. The story writers know that you have to sometimes pull the reins back a bit so that people can have the high risk, the way it works is like intermission seasons, like I talked about with Demon Slayer. Sometimes you need a slower season that's boring to reset those dopamine inhibitors, those dopamine receptors, so that when something more impactful is going to happen, you get it hitting harder. Because if you have it, like if everything is constantly at a 9 or a 10, then eventually you become numb to it. So sometimes you pull it back to a 4 or a 5, not bad, just okay. That way you rein yourself in a bit, you are excited for the next rush, and when that rush does come, it hits you way harder, and you pay more attention to it.
Romance, All Might, Hawks, Dabi, Ida. There may be hype seeing Gentle again. Gentle? Fucking what? This almost didn't feel like an action show. This felt like an epic soap opera where coincidentally people solve their conflicts by punching each other. It may not be doing what shonen action.
You know, that was probably the other problem that might be a thing, is making too many characters stay relevant. Because I think that's part of the issue, is when you have, like, for example, All Might, like, losing his powers in season 3 or 4, whatever it is, fighting All for One. It's all well and good. When a character's had their torch passed, trying to give every character space to show how powerful they are becomes immensely lethargic to try and do. Trying to balance every character arc and every character's relevancy and power can be a bit overwhelming. So it's really important to not like let too many characters try and get the spotlight too many times, I feel.
Does best, but it is doing what My Hero Academia does best. Now approaching the finish line to its legacy, it felt like My Hero has stood up for one last hurrah as it looked me dead in the eye and said, "Don't worry, kid."
I am here. Oh, we got some mechs out here?
Sometimes you come across a show that gives absolutely
I wonder if he's going to
zero
talk about
fucks
parody
and condenses
anime.
its entire being into achieving one objective, having fun. That
I wonder if he's going to put Sataku in here.
This is what happens when you take the
Kako,
over-the-top
whatever it's
ridiculous hype of Gurren Lagann, add a bit of Tokusatsu, and
Yeah!
crash land it into the manly
Get used to some
bravado world
animes
of
that
Top
don't take
Gun.
themselves seriously. Let's fucking go. Oh my god, what
Don't
is
make
this
it about as great
bullshit?
as it too. It is a non-stop,
Yo, guys, don't touch
glorious
tips.
celebration
Whatever
of
you
the
do, don't
best
touch
parts
tips. That's your
you'll
one
find in the
command.
mecha
Don't touch
genre,
tips.
then throws logic out the
We gotta
window
cross
and
the
amps
beams.
everything up to 11.
Bro, stop
Cheesy
pissing on me.
speeches, fusion scenes, old school theme songs that will grow your beard 5 inches. It takes all of them, then proudly throws them in your face. Oh, what was that? Yes, because you know what? Subtext is for cowards. It doesn't care if you get it or not because
Who
it's
cares
here
about
to
the
do its own thing.
homoeroticisms?
If
All
you
I care
ask,
about is the
why
fact
does
that
a
we
mecha
get
have
big
a
burly
function
men
where it plays
beating
its
each
theme
other?
song and projects its own background screen? Why
Beating
is
each
the
other-
US
each other up,
military trying
guys.
to waterboard a
Beating
giant
each other
robot?
up.
Why does the protagonist have karaoke subtitles so he can nail the speech?
Why do all the hot men have to wear spandex that's so tight you can see their sphincter? Why? Because they can and because we're cultured.
During heroic moments, it'll look at you dead in the eye and say, "Fuck you," because this is Bravern. BR.
Fuck you, because the main protagonist is probably gonna fuck your dad.
BW. What does that spell? It's a treat when you watch a show where you can tell every single person working on it was
It's
having
like,
a blast, and you get infected with that same joy. This is the shit post of Mecha, the YouTube poop
Oh
of
god,
super
it's like
robots. Forget a no bullshit show.
it's like
This is an
Gundam
all
Wing,
bullshit show,
but
and it's damn
Gundam
proud
gonna
of it.
fuck
It's
your
a show
dad.
that fully commits to hitting
Gundam, oh
every single
baby,
emotional beat it needs to, then
daddy
takes one
kiss
step
me
back and
kind of
laughs
thing.
at itself.
Gundam gay.
Come on, wake up! おお、こんな時だったのにお盛んで。
Man, they're really going at it. I certainly hope no one's dying up there. That's the shit I'm talking about. I want to see more anime that takes themselves less seriously. Fucking Dan of all things, especially. I hope he talks about Dan.
バカね私たちもでしょ
If you're still unsure about the appeal
See, when I'm in a hotel or I'm anywhere and I hear like a bed rocking and turning, clearly sounding off like two people going at it, I don't see that as annoying. I see that as a challenge. It's my challenge to out-noise them. Just saying. Like, that is the divergent way of thinking about
Mecha.
it.
If you're unsure of what makes
What
Super
other
Robots
people having
great,
more fun
give
than I
this
am?
one a watch.
Improbable.
This isn't just a love letter to the mecha genre. This will make you fall in love with mecha. You know, figuratively speaking.
Especially if you watched Gravitation back in the day.
Here. No. Here. No.
Would?
Just hear me out. No. No.
Wait.
Like many other people, watching anime can be my escape from reality. A place where you can enter
Why would I want to
whole
worry
new
about real world
with
shenanigans
stories
when I
that
can worry
have
about anime
absolutely
shenanigans?
No relation to the life you're living right now. So, what could be further from reality than a sci-fi show about alien invaders and the end of the world itself? It's the dreariest apocalypse of all time war event. Misinformation, conspiracy theories, and finger pointing have spread like
District 9,
wildfire
District
on
7.
social media.
That one movie
Friendships
with,
are lost and where people stand
you
with
know,
the issue of
Australians
these
being
aliens.
Australians.
Protests begin. Public trust is at an all-time low. The only
Was it
thing
South
that
Africa?
everyone can agree on is that nobody can agree on what
Independence
to do
Day 3?
next. Politicians prioritize the economy over anything else. More and more, it feels
2012
like there isn't
too?
a single competent person left in a position of power. And in between all that, the
What?
series asks,
What in the thumb-looking mother? Oh, right. He's asking for a small. Oh, okay, change the hair to blonde. A small loan of $1 million later. Got
in
it.
a position
Okay.
of power. And in between all that, the series asks, what does it feel like to be a teenager? Trying your best to grasp a sense of normalcy after living through major historical event after major historical event. This was the realest anime of 2024. Dead demons. Destruction. This takes a different approach to the first contact story. This isn't about an invasion. This isn't about communication. This is about people feeling absolutely lost, trying to cope with a world that seems to be crumbling around them. It's a cynical, biting
all
look
in
at
their
life that
head?
sometimes felt a little bit too uncomfortably reminiscent to reality.
Yeah,
showing
no
us that
war,
even during
no
an
war.
apocalypse,
Which
life
war?
has to
No,
and
but
will
no
go
war.
on. But there is hope, because even during a chaotic time with aliens, spaceships, and sci-fi laser weapons,
Dude, do you remember the time when anime was just about a couple of kids trying to be the best Hokage? Oh, I remember the days. I remember the days where I didn't have to, like, overthink just how dynamically weird anime could be. I remember the days when the weirdest thing that an anime could do is show a young 12-year-old boy going out into the world and having a secret notion that it's actually just a trauma, dream, sleep paralysis, coma dream they're having, and all the nonsense of them becoming the Pokemon leader they wanted to be was just in their imagination.
only then can the true heroes of society emerge.
お前もそろそろしっかりしてほしいよ
Getting a real job?
SNS にはびこる私
Stop talking to me on an emotional level, dude! I'm a Twitch streamer! Twitch stream is real, I promise!
ポストし続けなきゃならないのだからな
Ah, he's finally here. Biblically accurate Twitter blue checkmark.
There were 2 animes this year about slightly fat, old, retired men.
When the last season of ReZero came out, I looked like this. When the first season of ReZero came out, I looked like this. When ReZero is being written, I looked like this. It's insane to think that this show first blasted.
I have never, and probably will never watch anything of ReZero. It looks like the most gratuitously mundane, boring, and bland isekai I have ever seen in my life. And the little bits I have seen of it has not helped convince me otherwise.
Passing onto the scene, taking over the anime community was over 8 years ago. ReZero fans have been surviving eating at scraps, but this year we got the start of an all-you-can-eat buffet with its return. They brought everyone,
Like, I'm sure it's
everyone back
fine,
for this one.
but why would I
Amelia,
watch this when I can
Felt,
watch
Anastasia,
Interspecies
Priscilla,
Reviewer?
Subaru's newly acquired sassy
Or
Pokemon, Reinhardt,
Blah
Julius,
Blue Girl.
Venom, Let Me Soda,
You know?
even Rem fans were
Viper
eating this
GTS
season.
or other such culturally appropriate anime.
If you were one of the people that thought Season 2 was a little slow in plot progression, Season 3 went, don't worry, I hear you, and started off by dropping a nuke on itself. This was a no bullshit,
nice.
non-stop barrage of chaos. When you thought
Ooh,
the situation
okay, it does
couldn't
have
get any
broken
worse,
women,
it
though.
does.
Maybe
Just
I would
when
fit in.
Subaru learned to value his own life and make an oath not to rely on the return by death mechanic, this pushed that commitment to the absolute limit. One thing goes wrong, then two. Before he can even put out one fire, 10 more pop up. There reaches several parts where you think this is the point of no return, only for the series to hold.
Snake
and
Lady?
keep holding. Then it holds for another whole episode until you want to scream.
Like, at the end of the day, I could absolutely, like, I may not end up watching an anime, but I might become aware of it for the Rule 34 purposes. Like, I'm fully aware that this anime has a lot of cultured monsters that monster fucker license holders everywhere will enjoy. And I am fully aware that this cat creature here has confused many people into realizing they are, in fact, maybe a little bit homosexual.
Please, Subaru, there is no dishonor in typing FF15. This show has never been shy of introducing wacky, eccentric villains, and yet even this season had me going, good lord, ReZero, as I jizz and breathe. Forget introducing one villain at a time, let's introduce them all from the entire spectrum of crazy and deranged to others so despicable, I genuinely hope every time he pees, it goes off in 2 streams and they both miss the toilet. They were introducing so many surprise
different
villains, I was
directions.
expecting one of the episodes to end like,
Dragon.
I was completely wrong, wasn't I? I had the dates wrong all this time. Diddy, come on out.
Oh,
This was the
you
action-packed
fool,
season many
Ellen,
of us
why?
asked for, and the real difference is just seeing how much Subaru is stepping up to the plate. It's been an absolute pleasure to see how much
Yeah,
this is
I don't
not
know,
the
maybe
same
one day
Subaru
I'll watch
we all
this
recognized from the
when
beginning.
I've
And now the
watched
dominoes
everything
are set
else
up for
that
him to knock them down in the most emphatic
anything
way
to me.
possible in this arc's conclusion in 2025.
Hey, real talk,
and
though.
you bet your ass I'm gonna be there.
You know, if nothing else, ReZero does tick one box for me. Anime that are self-aware enough of the stereotypes of anime to canonically put a canon femboy cross-dressing in their team. Get you an anime that represents. Get you an anime that makes you question, am I watching or am I gooning today? I don't know. But if Alstolfo, if Alstolfo's taught me anything, you can have both. Ooh, okay. This has a good art style.
In the world of anime, there's no place more brutal, more cutthroat, more bloody than the romance genre. Girls
Ew,
duke it out to the
romance?
battlefield of the
Why have
protagonist's
emotion?
heart.
No
Tears are
emotion,
shed,
just breed.
Hearts are broken, blood, protein is spilled. But as we all know, there can only be 1, 2, 100, 0 winners, while the losers are there just left to rot. But this year, too many losing heroines saw all that and went, you know,
I find
just
it
because a girl
absolutely
lost
wild how
doesn't
many
mean she
cycles
wasn't
we've gone
best girl
through
in the show.
to a point where we are now entering a generation of anime that aren't just parody anime, but parodying the parodies of parodies. Like satirically parodying
And
the satire
few
parody of
tomboys and
parodies.
awkwardly shy chicks deserve their time in the spotlight too. And I want a little sister who's way too overprotective and calls me your knee-chan because I love my little sisters. Too many losing heroines was the answer to all of that.
Bro, come on! What is with my luck in anime recently and ending up watching ones where the brother and sister are just that little bit too close to each other? And I know that the other one wasn't exactly like that abridged one that we watched recently wasn't meant to be that way. But that was kind of why it was so funny.
It looked at romance anime and said, I'm tired of this single elimination bullshit. Where the hell is my losers bracket? And losers is all we see. 1, 2, 3 girls, all rejected by the man they love, coming together to form enough copium to rival the average Man United fan. We've seen romance anime where a girl loses, accepts her defeat, and that's the end of it. But this asked, what kind of reaction do we get after that point?
Realizing that there's no hope for getting a real person in your life, so you become a Twitch streamer and live off the vicarious parasocial energy of people coming to your stream and simping for you because you're apparently the opposite gender, which means that they can give you some kind of attention that gives you the dopamine hit that you would have otherwise subsequently got from a real relationship. Not that I'm projecting or anything.
Yahoo! This was the greatest hits montage of the saddest and funniest coping mechanisms people can find themselves when they're just in their lowest points. It's messy, it's emotional, it's sometimes just hilariously pathetic, and in between all of them is the victim of their non-consensual trauma dump. When I first saw this setup, I thought I had the show all figured out. Oh, here we go again. A laid-back, reserved guy paired with some loud, energetic, Genki anime girl. Wow. The trigger never gets pulled. The patented anime blush scene never happens. And all we're left with is a guy forming a real friendship by just letting these girls feel like they don't have to deal with all of this alone. Too Many Losing Heroines was a different kind of rom-com.
That's my biggest turn up for a lot of anime is when they're too cliche.
There's a genuine sense of community
when they
with the
pander
cast
too much to the gimmicks of anime,
and really
relying on the tropes, if you will.
It's a show that knows when to laugh at
Go
itself
against the
and when to
grain.
take itself 100%
Yeah, don't be afraid to like
selling
just
you on all these
commit
emotions,
to something
anger,
non-tropey.
emptiness, denial, that knee-jerk conclusion that you just lack any self-worth, all in its 12-episode run. Losing Heroines was a different kind of rom-com in a highly competitive year full of them, and I say this as someone who's just not as interested in romance shows anymore. As a 34-year-old married man, there is just far less for me to relate to nowadays.
Yes, I believe that the word is otaku.
Romance is going to have a hard time getting on my list.
Why get with real human person when dragon?
It's gotta be
why real person when demon? Can't get demon or dragon in real life.
Modern romance
Unless you go to Essex.
anime has an epidemic. I don't know when it started, but it felt like I woke up one day and 90% of them collectively agreed to do exactly the same thing. Let's just make a guilt-free, comfy show with minimal conflict, drama, and progression, showing daily interactions of some shy guy
slice
and a girl.
of life.
Except the girl has the thing. You know what I mean? The thing. Maybe she communicates in Russian. Maybe she's just legally fucking blind. Maybe the thing is that she has undiagnosed schizophrenia. Where the hell did this all come
just
from?
like me.
Some call this an offshoot of the teasing genre, some call it comfort romances, and some call it bait for
Hey, look, at the end
ladies
of
who
the day,
get
there's
no
a theme
bitches
of
and
manga
stack
for
no
everybody.
paper. With how
Whatever
much this
suits
is all
your boat,
blended
right?
together, I'm starting to call this shit the isekai of the romance genre. And
Ugh.
now I'm doubly convinced
Is
I'm
it the
never gonna
Dark
be able to
Souls
look
of
at one these
anime?
shows the same ever again because the dangers in my heart completely blows all of them out the water. No hooks, no gimmicks. This was just the purest depiction I've ever seen in anime of two people falling
Sometimes
in love.
anime does
Now,
truly be
wise
a
man
depiction
once
of your
said,
mental
"I think love
well-being."
is just like cringe. And you know what? I stand by that. We can do some cringe-ass shit when we think we're in love. It's that winky face you sent to that person once that keeps you up at night wondering why you thought it was a good idea. It's that corny shit we clowned on in love songs, but secretly you wanted to feel just once. It's that dumbass joke you nervously blurted out in front of them that had everyone looking at you funny and made you want to crawl in a corner and just disappear. But
It's wondering whether anyone else caught you at that family get-together jerking off in the bathroom or not. Oh,
it
yeah.
didn't fucking matter when you realized that they were the only one that laughed. That is the dangers in my heart. This isn't about the chase. It's not about the will they, won't they. It's about two people slowly discovering a form of comfort that only the other person can provide. Not just someone that fills that hole of companionship, but the one person who can break down that bullshit barrier you put around yourself and accepts you for that person you're scared to show the outside world. Here are two people just genuinely becoming the best versions of themselves when they're with each other, and God.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that
hey,
what it's all about?
sometimes you need that
This
kind
didn't
of an
feel like
anime.
some crush.
Sometimes
This
you
didn't
need
feel like
something
some
more
contrived
mundane
anime
to
love
help
story.
level
This is
everything out,
romance
to
in its
balance
purest
out your
fucking form, and a reminder of
spectrum
what
of
falling in love
enjoyment.
should feel like. In the race of modern great romance anime, you've heard of Kaguya-sama Love is War?
I'm not saying
Well,
that- listen.
Get ready for your
I'm not saying that I would ever really watch a romance anime. But if there's a romance anime out there where the male is kind of cute, submissive looking, and the girl's big and tall and kind of acting all dominant and stuff, I could be convinced to watch that. Yeah, that's definitely not my dynamic at all, in any way.
Yamada-kun, Love is cringe.
True. Ew, cringe. Love that. Dandadan? Girls band cry?
Girls Band Cry has girls
Ooh, 3D.
in a band that... Anime is not new to
I'm out. No, I'm out. Nah, already out. No, I'm sorry. That just cringe. Right there, cringe.
the girl rock band concept. It all started in 2009 with Girls Band Chai. 2 years ago saw the uprising
Real talk, though, you know, there are certain levels of pain in this world. There's stepping on a triangular Lego when you're trying to get out your bed to go pee in the morning. There's realizing that you don't have the money to pay for your taxes. And then there's the unfettered unsubstantiating, excruciating psychic, mental, physical pain you suffer from hearing the Japanese dub of an anime girl screaming and crying. That shit will resonate through your multiple incarnations into different lives of existence and through all planes of reality and make you feel pain and suffering for that entire existence. Anime, I love you, but can we please not make every girl in anime sound like a siren when they cry? Thank you.
Of the highly beloved girls band Shy, even tangentially in shows like Angel Beats that gave us girls band Die. We know what dynamic to expect. Cute girls doing cute things, chasing their dreams, trying hard while
cute
having
stuff.
a jolly
We
good
all love
time
cute
making
stuff,
new
right?
friends. And look how adorable they are when they interact with each other.
Yeah.
And then there's girls band
The
Cry.
question you always have to ask is, why watch this? Why? That right there, by the way, is what normies need to understand is what it's like having ADHD. That's not an anime. That's just my mental illness.
These aren't your pristine, perfect idol girls. They argue.
I do
talk
like
shit
the
to
3D
each other,
aesthetic,
throw
though.
tantrums. Our
Like,
main girl Nina has a public
3D
outburst, gets told to
composited
be
to
quiet,
look like
and calmly
2D.
responds by throwing a fucking lamp at him.
Based.
Nina is your average New Yorker, but it's this brutal honesty with each other that makes this show feel so real. Their friendship
Your
seems
average
so
New Yorker, but
genuine.
slightly less
the drama
racist.
is not some cutesy nothing burger. Every person is carrying some trauma, a character flaw they live with. These girls act like girls. They can come off as childish. They can make naive decisions on their journey, and they, get this, do not get rewarded for it. This is no fairy tale, no idealistic story about chasing your dreams. This is a
The only fairy tale around here is that somehow
true to yourself, no
anime
matter
likes to
what the
convince you
world
that
is telling
skirts
you.
like
But
that
even
don't
so,
have
they
realistic
refuse to
physics.
betray their character. These girls embody the true spirit of rock, both its ups and its downs. And it's through watching their
I will
struggles
say, the
do
art
you
style's
get
adorable.
some of the
I can get behind
finest
this.
drama you can find all year. But ew, isn't this CG? All right, get the fuck over here. No! I've had enough of your shit. I get that anime fans have a Pavlovian response anytime they see CG, but this is some of the best I've
CG can totally work. Unless your name is Ruby, in which case you fucked up. But CG anime has its place if you do it right. It's the same idea with doing live action versions of an anime. You can make it work, you just have to innovate and understand the spectrum and medium you're using.
seen outside of Studio Orange. There's not a single moment where something interesting isn't happening in frame. Every movement adds so much character, micro-expressions that perfectly emphasize emotions.
Yeah,
and
okay,
concert
maybe I
scenes
misjudged
that
this
bring
one.
the
The
fucking
art
hype to the
style looks
fantastic
gorgeous in this.
music. Speaking of which,
Realistically,
ooh,
this is
piano.
this is the whole debate with like 3D versus 2D VTubers, right? Each medium has their speciality and benefits. The thing is with 3D, if you play it, the ceiling of 3D is higher, in my personal belief. You can do a lot with 2D. 2D can be amazing, is amazing, can be amazing. But I think with 3D, depending on how much you lean on it, you can make 3D look as good, if not better, than anything that's 2D. It just requires more of an understanding, more finesse, and more effort, which is probably why most people don't do it.
A piano.
And we've been stunned too much by shit 3D stuff in the past to trust it these days. Yes,
Girls
exactly.
Don't Cry
The
takes you
floor
back
is
to
higher, but the
basics,
ceiling
great
is higher for
writing,
3D.
Great characters,
Whereas 2D
great
is
banter,
safer and
devious
easier to work
piano
with.
keys that bring joy
And more
upon my ears.
developed and more grounded. And has had more work done into it so people know where to base themselves. I can see a 3D work. Oh, this one! This is the
In this
one about
day and
the
age, we've seen it all. Thrillers, gangster
guy
stories,
from like the
pirates,
1700s,
ninjas,
Russian guy,
knights. It's so
Polish
rare
guy,
to see a
Polish guy,
concept
Polish
that
guy.
hasn't been done before. A story yet to be told.
This one's like a
And
heart
all
turner.
On the movements of the earth was all of that and so much more. In a time
Right?
when faith was the dominating school of thought, when studying science
Yes.
was the Asian parent equivalent of finding out your kid wants to go to art school. What if you had to prove to
Yeah, this one's the really funky one. This was an anime I have a lot of respect for, where they put in a really I wouldn't say ethical, but like ponderous conundrum and aren't afraid to ask the questions and show real human bullshit that don't detract from fantasy.
Everyone that the Earth isn't the center of everything, but we're actually a rock flying thousands of miles per hour through the vastness of space, held down by this invisible force you can't touch, see, or smell. Oh, you think you can do that?
Okay, real talk. My 6th year teacher didn't have the talk of the birds and bees with us. No. My teacher understood that in the 6th year, we wanted to learn about something more impactful. Our 6th year teacher, rather than giving us the understanding of biology and everything, posed us the question of, what is gravity? If I can't see gravity, how do I know that it exists? My 6th year teacher was a genius. He was religious. He was a Sunday school teacher. But he treated science with so much respect, and he actively used a lot of scientific kind of like theories to teach our very juvenile brains about critical thinking. And he posed us the question. He did it in a conversational manner, and he sat there in front of a group of an entire classroom of 12-year-olds and posited the idea of, what is gravity? Like, he sat there and was like, I don't believe in gravity. I don't believe in gravity. I can't see gravity. If I can't see gravity, it doesn't exist. Which for a religious man was hysterical. This Christian Sunday school teacher, using the irony of saying, I can't see it, therefore I don't believe in it. And put us down to the notion of, hey, how do we prove how gravity exists? And his entire thing here was to try and help us use rational and critical thinking to prove something that naysayers and people would deny, which, again, the irony of him being religious in that moment was hysterical looking back at it. And, yeah, just that thing, like, taught us the importance of being able to analyze something and deal with a debate and a critical conversation in a level-headed manner. Because there were there was a spectrum of responses in this class, right? There were kids who were getting irate saying, but teacher, it just does. And then there were the ones who just like, no, I'm not going to argue. You're right. Gravity doesn't exist. And then there were the ones out there that understood the assignment, who got up and started like grabbing books and dropping them and, using inertia as an example, like pushing him and letting his chair. And as we like, he would engage with the people who were just doubting him or not using critical thinking in the way a hater would, and like provocating them to lose their cool. But the people who were like bringing factual evidence and showing them, he would test them and he'd be like, well, prove it. And God, it was just, yeah. Anyway, the point being is, this entire anime was based on the idea of how society at one point in life didn't believe that we were thought we were the center of the universe and everything. And if you believe differently, you die. You can have very heavy subjects in anime if you handle them correctly.
I bet you still secretly give Pluto the planet pass when no one's around, you lying prick.
Cringe.
Orb isn't just the story of heliocentrism. It's a captivating tale showing how one
up, Naku?
simple idea can change the course of so many lives. An idea that just won't die no matter how many times you try to extinguish it. It passes from person to person, generation to
generation.
generation.
An anime that doesn't escape fantasy, or that doesn't give us escapism, but reminds us how fucked as human beings we are. Crazy.
Nothing can cage humanity's desire to look at the universe and go,
Man, I just wanted to watch anime to get away from the real world. I didn't want to be reminded that I'm actually part of a society that burned people for thinking differently. That's crazy.
I will never reveal my secrets to you. Humanity looks up and replies, fuck you, we're gonna try anyway. This is both the brutal reality and true beauty that comes in that pursuit of knowledge. How many people laid the groundwork of research and died just before a massive breakthrough? Are the real heroes of science the ones who come up with the correct ideas, or the ones who suffer the heartbreak of realizing they've dedicated their life work researching down the wrong path and yet still accept it? Next person will now know what not to do. It's the legacy of all these unsung heroes
I didn't want to watch anime to think. I wanted to watch anime to see some big anime
but the
titties.
lives of the people that give us the understanding of the world we have today. It never stops reminding us that through every great individual, every achievement, every giant leap humanity takes stands on the back of the work of the people that came before them. No matter what kind of old-fashioned archaic thinking that existed back then that could halt the progress of humanity.
誰もが簡単に文字を使えたらゴミのような情報で溢れ返ってしまう。
Wait, hold on a second. This guy might be onto something.
Yeah, keep you the master. Hey, maybe we need to like devolve the VTuber audience. Like, truly, the people who learned to read and write, You mean to tell me that giving people the ability to audibly and visually demonstrate their main prattling was actually what caused Twitter to be a thing to begin with? Crazy! Kind of explains the VTuber community. Yeah! Delicious Dungeon!
Really
That's
felt
my
like
shit!
anime really
I
served
sat
its
down there
love
and
for
I
pure
binged this for
fantasy
2
shows
days
this year,
solid.
with Freerun leading the charge with a tale that spoke straight to our souls. We
Ah, this
laughed,
is such
we
a good
cried, and the
anime.
community replied, damn, that's deep. While all this was going on, another show was cooking with a different approach. It had elves, it had dragons, it had
Okay,
dungeons.
real talk. Freerun is good. This was better. Delicious in Dungeon is my favorite anime of this year. Without doubt. Without a shadow of doubt, it's the best. It takes itself just seriously enough to be immersive. It doesn't take itself seriously enough that you can't have a bit of a giggle at it. The characters are delightful. The fact that the main brother, is quite literally a demonstration of someone on the autistic spectrum. You would never figure that out until you look at him analytically. But there is such, like, it's such a perfect storm of great storytelling. And
But looked at all
arcs.
these monsters and went,
Feast mode activated. Hashtag hungry. FeedMeMore.com.
Dungeon Meshi satiated all our appetites by giving us a different kind of fantasy show. And when I saw this, I thought, wow.
Also,
finally,
I'm glad they
an
put
anime where people
Horatius
just wanna
in this
eat
show.
monsters and don't want to fuck them. It presents itself as a low-stakes comfy cooking show.
Hey now. There's nothing wrong with wanting to fuck the monsters. We have monster fucker permits for that exact reason. Don't try and judge me for that. If they didn't want us to fuck the monsters, they wouldn't put us in the fantasy world to get lost in the fantasy like that to begin with. Don't you judge me, because I know you're just as bad as the rest of us.
Detail in this world building that most fantasy anime could only dream
Wait,
of.
cat
From
girl?
the biology to the
It's
concepts.
cute
It
you
takes
think that the
these
cat's a
well-known
girl.
creatures and reimagines them in a way to give them a sense of credibility that makes you forget that you're
Also, just as a thing, Ornstein, anyone? Was I the only one that thought this was Ornstein? It's very much looking like Ornstein from Dark Souls.
way to give them a sense of credibility that makes you forget that you're watching a fictional story and not some nature documentary. It'll introduce you to these treasure bugs, insects shaped
So
like
cute.
coins and jewelry that target unsuspecting prey, and you're like, ah, okay, that's kind of like real-life bugs that can perfectly camouflage themselves
Yeah.
in nature. 2 episodes later, we see our first mimic, and if you're familiar with fantasy, mimics are some of the most
I am totally normal about mimics. I am totally normal about mimics. I am totally normal about mimics. I am 100% absolutely totally normal about mimics. I do not... Hey, look, I have a picture that I'm going to draw soon where a mimic jumps at Makari, and then in the next scene, the mimic's running away with Makari chasing after her, going, "Get back here! You call that tentacle fucking me? Get back here! I'm not done with you!"
most well-known monsters responsible for many of your in-game deaths, I'm sure. But here, Dungeon Meshi gives them that believability by imagining them as some giant hermit crabs that gravitate towards
Oh, that's
chests
such
as
a
their
cool
home.
concept.
Makes sense. But then, seemingly on a totally unrelated note, a treasure bug is found near it. Then one of the characters casually mentions, oh yeah, that's because the treasure bugs lay their eggs on the mimics so the larvae feed on them and they mature in there. And then it clicks. Oh, that's why these treasure bugs conveniently find their way into chests, perfectly placed for some unsuspecting adventurers to find. And this was the exact point. My mind fully comprehended the exact scope of this world building. These aren't just random monsters.
It's because they went the extra leg. Like, what it is, most other fantasy, D&D themed kind of fantasy anime, they go off of the idea of very surface level notions within storytelling. Freerun kind of pushed that a little bit, but this took every notion of what we understand with D&D fantasy, but made it like real. Like it was a sort of ecosystem. The sort of, it was made logical. It made sense. In most other fantasy and D&D scenarioed kind of shows, anime or not, the whole concept is to be fantasy. And it's very hard for you to then kind of work yourself around that. But they made D&D and the ecosystem of everything within that make sense, which was the most impressive thing.
Scattered around. This is an ecosystem where every single thing is interconnected. There is no part that exists solely in a bubble. Every piece of this world has been carefully crafted and interwoven with a level of care that's rare to see anywhere. And you're telling me this level of craftsmanship is being used in
Also,
a make-believe
muscly
comfy
dwarfs
cooking
are.
show? This is the moment when you fall into its trap. Oh! Oh!
I could take her. Yeah, I think she's perfect like that. I could take her.
God fucking damn it. When Dungeon Meshi shows its true hand, you realize the food was simply a vehicle to prep you for what the dungeon really is. This is a brutal environment we are nowhere near close to understanding or taming. This is not your comfy fantasy world.
Now hear me out. Hear me out. Guys, hear me out.
Not your comfy fantasy world. This is a Made in Abyss style Lovecraftian nightmare. A world that runs on its own set of rules beyond human comprehension that we have only just taken a single step into. Yet even through this turn, the series never loses its heart. The lovable leads always remain true to themselves. Marcial is still playing Elden Ring. Senshi is playing Cooking Mama. Chilchuk is playing Slay the Spire. Izutsumi just brought Stray. Everyone else is trapped in Darkest Dungeon.
I hate the way he said that. Oh, but it's true. But as like you know what the thing about this anime that really like stuck to me is the impact that people have on dungeons, because you know you play a fantasy game and nobody really bats an eyelid about the respawning loot, how you get your bodies to respawn, and all that kind of like. This is one of the very first animes that I've seen poke the logic of D&D logic, to actually like put a quantifiable, tangible, understandable notion to how respawning works, loot works, what happens when you don't have a constant cycle of people in an ecosystem that works in a hierarchy. Like, not as really a spoiler, there's a really small little tidbit they point out where at the beginning they go to a very upper level, and they go to these towers. And they say to themselves, they were talking about it, and they say, oh, these towers used to be completely gold encrusted. And at some point in the past, there'd been salvages that had come through and stripped them of their gold. And you think about that when you play your D&D or your other games where, you know, that's just something that respawns or it doesn't really have any long-lasting effect. But they don't just like pass over it as if it's just like a whatever. If there's an explanation to it, there's a, hey, yeah, so the gold that was on these things is no longer there. So there's not as many people coming here for this exact purpose, which now means that there's more monsters, which means it's a more harsh environment, like cause and effect. Like that is and I think this is like one of the things that really makes a lot of like D&D fantasy themed anime, especially and in games to some extent, lose a lot of that believability, is when they don't consider the idea of cause and effect. The thing is, if you try and put in cause and effect, you have to do it in a way that's diegetically relevant to the story, that doesn't insult the intelligence of your audience, but also doesn't take away from the fantasy that you're in. Because if you try and explain something, you relate it to something real and tangible, which kind of takes you out of the fantasy. So you either do or you don't. If you don't risk something, but you also then risk the idea of things being a bit confusing and mundane. But if you do explain things, you then have to have the idea that it has to be done right, otherwise you completely remove people from that fantasy because it's no longer believable. And that's why this is one of the best ones I've seen, because they do it so fucking well.
Dungeon, meanwhile, Laios is in the corner going,
FeedMeMore.com.
Dungeon Meshi invites you to have a taster of this living, breathing world, and you forget for a moment that none of it's actually real. It'll lull you into its cozy vibe and smack you round the head when you get too comfortable, and by the end of it, sits you down to enjoy another delectable meal while you reflect on the journey. In summary,
then we realize in the final episode that it zooms out from the screen and it's a bunch of nerds sat around a D&D table, all arguing with who gets the next bit of loot. Dan-da-dan, dan-da-dan, dan-da-dan. Yeah! Woo! That's my gilf!
maybe even watch...
Never before have I ever watched an anime where gratuitous panty shots and unnecessarily gratuitous nudity has been less relevant to the story, but so relevant at the same time. I hate anime that makes sex appeal and gratuitous fan service a forefront. This is the one time I've ever seen them use like panty shots, gratuitous nudity, and it just works as a diegetic storytelling method. It just makes sense. The gilf, the panty shots, the fan service, is just a sparkling, beautiful element to the novelty and the humor of the story.
Watching anime for 1 year. Maybe you've been watching it for
let me
5
gobble
years,
that
maybe
weenie.
even 10. but
Yes.
I'm sure you remember that feeling
Now,
of
guys,
watching
if you come
those
to my
first
stream, I'm not
10
going to gobble your
shows. That
weenie, but I'm
excitement,
certainly going to
discovering
gobble your
this whole
wallet.
new medium where everything felt fresh. It was a place that operated on its own set of rules, not bound by the
See, Dan to Dan is Jujutsu Kaisen, but with the PG-13 filter taken off.
ideas you were used to. There was a weirdness to it you couldn't find anywhere else, and every new episode you watched, something unpredictable lay just around the corner. I've been watching anime for 20 years, and Dan to Dan took me back to those times. Shonen Jump is a place where its formula for success has been repeated over generations, so when a new title gets adapted, we normally know what the rules are, and Dan starts by taking that rulebook and setting it on fire. At first you think,
No. Dan takes that rulebook and gobbles it like Turbo Granny gobbled his weenie.
okay, it's another battle shonen. Then you realize, hold on, it's actually a rom-com. No, sci-fi. Wait, it's a supernatural. Maybe actually it's even a horror. You go through this entire notion before it even occurs to you that 90% of this show revolves around some dude getting his balls back. This is what happens when you throw everything against the wall and say, fuck it, we ball. You could be the strongest observation haki user and still be unable to predict what happens next. When you expect it to go forward.
This is what happens when you merge every single anime that's existed in the last 10 years into one. It's Ichigo fighting his hollow corruption. It's Naruto with its power fantasy. It's Demon Slayer with its martial artsiness. It's every other batshit anime out there somehow merged into one, and it just works.
Forwards, it goes sideways. When you say jump, it asks.
What a weird place to stop. Wait.
Asks.
I'm sorry.
Occurs to you that 90% of this show revolves around some dude getting his balls back. This is what happens when you throw everything against the wall and say, fuck it, we ball. You could be the strongest observation haki user and still be unable to predict what happens next. When you expect it to go forwards, it goes sideways.
Are we allowed to show this on Twitch? Guys, am I cooked? Is this the end of my career? Are we done? Am I out of the job now? I have clearly missed an episode or two. Man, laying on top of a lady naked and still not a sex haver. Typical VTube watcher.
When you say jump, it asks. It exudes this childish freedom of expression you forget how to do as an adult, and the most incredible thing is that somehow, someway, it is able to take all this chaos
From episode 2?
and keep everything cohesive.
Wait, really?
This is a show
I
that
don't
can
remember
make
that.
you laugh,
I swear I was
make
paying
you
attention.
cry, make you hype, leave you in absolute awe in some of its
Yeah,
most beautiful
that's
moments.
what I mean.
All
Like,
while staying
every time they do a novelty panty shot or whatever, you're completely captivated by just the angle of the shot or
cry,
how
make you
wacky and
hype,
wild that
leave
scene
you
was. Like this, yeah, she was naked the entire time. But for the first time in my life, there was a half-naked anime girl on the screen, and I wasn't paying attention to that. I was paying attention to their camera angles, the pose types, the fluidity of the animation. Yeah, she was naked, but for the first time in my life, I didn't care.
Absolute awe in some of its most beautiful moments, all while staying true to its own special brand of weirdness. In the sanitized, safe, risk-free world of modern entertainment, watching this reminded me of the childish excitement I should feel when watching a new anime. And the only thing holding this from the top spot is that we've barely taken a step off the starting line.
Damn, 2025 is going to be wild. And it kind of makes me scared, because if this is how wild things are now, how the hell are you going to get even more elevated
if I'm
than
being
that?
super honest, I don't even like drawing manga. It's a pain
Yo,
in the
same! It just pays the bills.
Then why do you draw, Fujino?
If you would, for a second,
Is this the
indulge me
Breaking
in this
Bad of
anecdote I
anime?
think about a lot. It's
We gotta
3
cook,
a.m. in the year
Walter!
1988.
Walter,
An audio
draw your
engineer in
anime!
Hawaii is picking up after a late night of work when his phone rings. On the other end was a local musician who asked if he can come in and record something. Of course, the engineer told him that he was closing and they could easily come in the next day, but the guy pleaded
I haven't
to
heard
let him
anything
record
about this
idea
anime.
he desperately wanted to see through. 15 minutes later, that person came in. He played one song, one take, and it was over. For years, that recording would lay dormant, only to actually be released 5 years later. That guy was Israel Kamakawiwo'ole, and that recording was his now world-famous rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh!
This story has always stuck with me. For anyone who's ever created something, sometimes you have that
Hold
project.
up. I before we watch this, if I see their tablet, if it's better than my drawing tablet, I'm gonna shit.
That idea that hits you when inspiration strikes and refuses to leave.
What's she using? She's using a Wacom?
Taking a shower,
She's scum?
when you're having lunch.
If she's using a Wacom, she's scum.
Like a parasite, it festers in your mind, waiting for you to materialize it. And you
Show me
know
your tablet.
you have to see it
Show me your
through.
tablet.
Not for money, not for clout, not for any sense of personal...
I'm sorry, what? Did you say not for clout? Disgusting. Everything's for clout.
responsibility, but because you just
That's on. Thank you for
need
that resub.
to. On every single level. That is the exact feeling I get when watching Look Back. A need to make, a need to create. Look Back was many things. It's
An
a love
Acme
letter
drawing
to the
tablet.
creative process. It's an exploration to why people
I prove
make
it.
art.
I prove.
It's a homage to some of the most tragic events that have happened in the industry, but more than that, there is this overwhelming sense of an author coming to terms with his own personal struggles, speaking directly to these characters that he's created.
I've always got a
Coming from the
big
minds
respect
that
for
gave us
anime that are sort of like
500
self-inserts
Chainsaw
for
Man.
the
This is a
troubles we actually deal with as
shockingly
humans.
simple, soulful tale of two artists and their journey of
Especially when the trouble is, like,
creating for
relatable,
each other,
right?
Creating for money, creating for pride, creating for...
Is this a self-insert of Gig? Is this him putting himself in here saying, yeah, dude, content creation's a real hard thing, man. It's a self-insert of a self-insert movie. Crazy.
For themselves. This is a film that
Trying to make
encapsulates
money
the
as a content
entire
creator is a
spectrum
wild
of
business,
emotion
yo.
For anyone who's ever made anything. In a way, only someone who's felt the depths of those feelings could portray. That excitement of finishing your first work, the struggle of knowing you can do better, that deep insecurity that you're just inadequate, the euphoric explosion of having your work recognized, the emptiness you feel when you've forgotten why you started this journey in the first place.
God, if that isn't like an explanation of friggin' being a content creator, I don't know what is. Like, that it perfectly encapsulates it. The late nights, the commitment, knowing full well that you could spend 50 hours on a video and have nothing to show for it. Just the trauma and pain and misery and people are all willing to lambast content creators for, oh, you just sit at your computer doodling all day, or you play video games for a living. Yeah, cool. That's part of it. But you don't understand the psychological, the emotional and ethical and self-sacrifice you make to make that work as a job. I've always said, you either work 50 to 60 hours a week for someone else or 80 to 90 hours a week for yourself. And when you are a content creator or a freelancer, you are sacrificing so much to make what you do work. Especially when you live in a bloody post-Brexit bullshit land like I do. And, to my lord and savior, the British economy, I salute you for trying everything to put me in jail.
And that moment when you doubt it all and ask, was it all worth it? In 1 hour, this film packs more emotional
I don't think I
depth
could
than
watch
most
this.
anime can fit in an entire season through simple,
I just from this
beautiful
trailer, I can see
storytelling.
myself
It felt
in
like
this.
A story that was made simply
Like, the amount of
because
times I've
someone
cried
needed to put
from
it all out
overworking
there.
myself.
It's jam-packed, full of the rawest human emotions, like you're watching somebody
Or
scream from their soul.
The trauma of putting 50 hours into a video, getting absolutely no traction on it, and then some random skibbity toilet bullshit video you watched that had literally 5 minutes worth of editing pops the fuck off, and then you have to base your entire career around that for the next perceivable future. I'm fine, by the way. Don't worry about me.
Lines that feel so intimate, you're unsure if you're watching two characters talk to each other or a person having a conversation with themselves. This is the kind of personal story that's so rare to experience, and when I see someone laying themselves bare, it's hard for me not to be deeply moved. I've experienced this story 3 times now, and every time has given me something different. I read the manga
Oh
and
my
cried at
God,
the pure
what a
beauty of the
journey.
storytelling and emotions on display.
Yeah,
I
Caldrat, thank you
watched
for
this in
5.
theaters and cried, experiencing this story again so perfectly brought to
Shark
life.
Boy?
I put this on when it got its home release and cried, feeling such profound connection
Aw.
to what the creators must have
I
felt
cried too
when
much even without
making
this emotional
and
anime bullshit at the
after
moment.
Every single time,
I don't need to
without
cry
fail,
more.
It gave me a reminder of why the hell I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
Hell yeah.
I'm sure some of you may think that putting a movie as my #1 anime this year feels like a cop-out. And yeah, it kind of is. I often try
But
to
that's
make
just
it a
your
point to
opinion,
keep
buddy,
anime
and you're
films
entitled to your
series
opinion.
separate. I've never put a movie in any of these rankings before, but no matter how much I reflected, no matter what other shows I put here, nothing else felt right. It had to be Look Back. Not because I wanted to give it exposure, not because
I'm
of
sure
some
there'll be
review
people out there that
score, not
disagree.
because of any
And that's the great thing about opinions.
qualifications.
You're all
I put it
entitled to them.
here because simply
You can't
I just
try and
needed
stop
to.
other people having their opinions. You don't have to enjoy their opinions, but you can respect their opinions. Oh, wow, what a video. Well, let me know what your favorite anime was down in the comments. Make sure you put the secret word that we said at the start of the video. And yeah, that was a really good one. And with that, I suppose I'd love to know what you guys have been enjoying. So let me know down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye now.